Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Hunter Jackson. Just wanted to share my story with you guys about my journey through church hurt and church abuse and kind of coming out of that, specifically with Upper Room and their leadership there. So first of all, I want to say that I forgive those people and I bless them, but this is my story and you guys can take it for what it's worth. Obviously, I'm not perfect and I am a human being, just like the leadership there, just like everyone in the world. They're human beings and make mistakes, but definitely think that some people that are in leadership and taking on a shepherding role need to be aware of behavior that is causing great impact, whether it's good or bad in people's lives. So I'm going to share my story. I grew up in church my whole life, always had a passion, huge passion for worship leading and music, and used to listen to CDs all the time when I was a kid and just worship in my room and all that kind of stuff. Played piano from a young age, got into guitar in high school and in college, started writing music, all that kind of stuff. But really just wanted people to really experience the Lord through worship, and had encounters with the Holy Spirit when I was like 5th grade. So definitely believe in the gifts of the Holy Spirit, believe in the move of the Holy Spirit, experience, healings, I've experienced words of knowledge, I've experienced all those things. And some of you guys may not believe that, and that's okay, honestly, because I'm actually not super involved in the church anymore. We still go from time to time, but not involved in leadership or anything. I'm not leading worship anymore. But I'll just tell you my journey to make it easy. Basically, I left my previous church and I started going to Upper Room back in 2013. And man, I just loved the freedom and how much they valued worship and the presence of God, the Holy Spirit, and just not a whole lot of churches were doing that at the time. It was kind of more of a house of prayer type thing. So that was kind of all new to me. But it had just been something I've been longing for, to really be able to use what I felt like God had put in me with worship. I felt like I definitely had a gifting for that, and music. I loved that there was an openness for the move of God, the move of the Holy Spirit, to see the Holy Spirit move in miraculous ways, and that they really kind of like created an environment where that was acceptable. But the worship specifically was the biggest part of it, that I would say a lot of people go there for that. So I immediately jumped on board, tried out for their worship team, and they do like prayer sets. They do like 2-hour prayer sets per week. So basically for 2 hours out of every week, you're leading worship, prayer, scriptures. People could come and sit and just kind of like just rest in worship music, rest in that kind of atmosphere, which was cool. I enjoyed that. But I feel like there was just some questions that began to come up in my heart about, why are we doing this? Like, why are we not out like reaching the lost, and why aren't we like doing some other things like discipleship or things like that? And also had some concerns because I started hearing some things that may or may not have been true at the time. I think the biggest first hurt for me was that, there was like a worship conference that they did, and they said, hey, we're going to record everybody's album. So get your songs together, get your team together, put it together, and we're going to record every set. And then from each set, we're going to pull in songs and put them on the album. So man, that was like cool. Hey, awesome. I have a voice here that represents like what you guys are doing and kind of what you want to do and what the Lord is doing, And so we worked hard, we practiced, we prepped our stuff. I remember showing up that morning. They didn't have any sound stuff hooked up. They didn't have any guys there to do recording. I asked, hey, are we doing recording? Oh, no one's recording today. So my set just didn't even get recorded. So that just hurt, It felt like, hey, I'm here and I feel like my voice is one of the voices here, and just don't feel like kind of got the lower end of the totem pole kind of kicked out. And everyone else that was in kind of a group that were all connected, they all kind of got part on the group, and that's fine. Hey, if they didn't want to record me, that's their choice. Like, it's not my church, whatever. I mean, it was my church at the time, but I think that I just was like, hey, that kind of hurt, and it felt kind of deceptive because you told us that you're going to record our sets and then you did it. And then so when I went to leadership about it, I asked them like, hey, what happened? Like, I thought you were going to record the sets. And they're like, well, I think they told me either one, they didn't have the budget, or change of leadership. I'm not really sure what happened. Honestly, I'm not really sure. It's still unclear to this day. So that was really hurtful. Kind of felt like a slap in the face. Like, we don't really care about your voice. We don't really care about what you carry. You're not that important. And so, all of us that were kind of considered important got on there. That's kind of how it felt. So I don't know all the details. But when I did ask the leader, hey, they said, next time there's going to be an album next year. And if your stuff's good enough, it might get on there. That just kind of felt, hey, you're minimizing my pain, and felt like, hey, I know my stuff's good. I've been playing music for a long time. Maybe my stuff sucks. I don't know. It just felt like, yeah, well, if your stuff's good enough, it might get up. How about try again, and maybe it might get on there. So it just felt like, hey, I don't really feel like you really care that much, or you really value me. There were some other things that kind of went on. I was kind of into conspiracies at the time. Was looking into flat earth and some other things, and I was kind of big into because it was kind of exciting and it was kind of interesting, and they were talking about all these different things, and whether you believe that or not, that's fine. I don't really care, because I do believe that Jesus Christ is the most important thing. People begin to talk about me behind my back, just saying, hey, he's weird, I don't know about that guy, hey, look what he's posting. Just felt kind of like I was being like watched. In my time during those worship sets, there was a lot of people that were just practicing witchcraft. Let's just state it. They were doing occultic stuff, astral projecting, things like that. Whether you believe in that stuff or not, that's fine. In my worship sets, there was a guy coming into my worship sets, and I believe he was practicing witchcraft. So on my way to one of my worship sets where I led for 2 hours, I got in a car accident. And I don't believe it was an accident. I believe it was part of that. Now, I could be wrong. Let's just say that I was wrong. Let's say it wasn't witchcraft. Let's just say I just got in a car accident, just happened to get in a car accident. After I left, and this was way after I left, I'd asked some other people, and apparently this guy was involved with putting trinkets and things in other girls' cars at another church, and they were getting in car accidents. So maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. However, the biggest thing is that if these people were known practicing stuff and involved in things like that, and leadership had been made aware about it, why were they not addressing it and telling those people to leave, or like not letting them come in, or kind of just really addressing it? Because I felt like when other people were coming to leadership with concerns, and this is other people coming to leadership that just kind of rebuked them and dismissed them and didn't really care. So honestly, me getting in a car accident and almost dying, it felt like, well, because you didn't address these things, I almost died. So I don't really feel covered, didn't really feel cared about. So yeah, there's that. So I did get in a car accident. I had a concussion. It was really bad. Couldn't go to church. Couldn't be on a phone. Couldn't be on my computer because it was just too stimulated to my brain. So I had to spend thousands of dollars trying to fix the concussion, which did get better. But, still today, obviously, I'm probably still a little crazy. Maybe I'm crazy to you right now. But so basically got better. Finally was able to go back to church. But during the interim of that time when I wasn't there, I didn't get a call from anyone. And I'd been leading worship every month and involved in leadership there every Sunday pretty much. Didn't get a call from anyone really. When I finally did get a call, it's because I posted on one of their Facebook pages like, hey guys, can you pray for me? I've had a bad concussion. I can't get out of bed. I just stay in a dark room, And I get a call from one of the leaders, and they're like, hey man, you don't need to be posting on there. If you need help, just come to our house, man. We'll pray for you. And honestly, how about come to my house? How about come to me and pray for me? How about instead of telling me not to post things, how about calling me and seeing how I'm doing? So it just kind of felt sort of a rebuke. Maybe they had the right intention. I don't know. It just felt like, hey, I wasn't really that important. I'm a means to an end. And that's kind of the general theme is in this environment, everyone was kind of just like a cog to a big piece, but not really a human being treated like they were loved and cared about and valued and wanted to be known and wanted to be loved. And when someone's hurting and when someone's in pain or going through some hard things, hey man, how are you doing? What's going on? How's your heart, man? Tell me what's going on with your life. How can we be there for you? That's not what that environment felt like. It felt like, hey, we're about the mission. We're about my church and my ministry and all this kind of stuff. And so this is just my story. This is my experience. So abuse is a different story. And I'm going to get into more of that here in a second. So when I was finally better, I did actually start coming back to church, and I started leading worship again. And my very last time leading worship there, I remember right before leading the set, the main pastor came up to me and he was like, hey man, I need you to sign a contract that you're not going to talk about flat earth. And it just felt kind of like, this is really weird. Why are you asking me right before I'm leading worship? I'm trying to get my heart prepared, trying to get my mind in the right place. And you're coming up to me right before I lead worship and trying to hey, you're going to have to sign a contract that you're not going to talk about this. And it just felt very controlling and just kind of weird. And I remember we went back to pray that night, and generally he never came back there, but he was there and he was just staring at me. He was looking at me. I don't know if he was trying to intimidate me or what, but I remember leading worship that night. It felt like something was pushing me down. It felt just very heavy. I don't know what was going on, but I was like, dude, this is weird. And I felt like I saw some leaders just staring in the back, just staring at me. They weren't engaged. They weren't worshiping, just staring at me. And I remember I told the other worship guy, I was like, I'm never coming back here. I didn't. Never went back. Really, because of that weird spiritual environment. Very strange. Very uncomfortable. I left. One of the other worship leaders wanted to meet with me and try to kind of convince me to stay and kind of come back. He was actually not a Christian anymore. He actually deconstructed. So that's what I heard, which I don't blame him. Honestly, I don't blame him for deconstructing because, when these pastors are representing God and, you think God's that way, then who wants to be a Christian? Honestly, I struggled with my faith for a long time. I almost walked away. Seriously, I was like, I don't really want to be a Christian. I don't like Christians. I don't like church. I'm tired of all the BS. Like, it's dumb. It's controlling. Why would I want to be a part of these environments where people don't care about you and I'm just a means to an end, a utility to kind of make this machine work? And that's how it felt. And I still struggle with that a little bit. I still struggle with trusting leadership, and especially in churches, pastors. So I left. He wanted to meet with me. And I was already kind of hearing some other things about connections with the pastor, with a man that had a lot of money and possibly involved in some super shady things, really shady things. I'm not going to say names, obviously. Yeah, had some concerns because of what other people were telling me, and not just at my church, at other churches, because I had a lot of connections, all about this one specific person that the pastor was connected to. So this worship pastor met with me and he's like, let's get lunch at this place. Well, guess who shows up at the lunch place? The main pastor who told me to sign a contract. He comes up and he puts his arms around us and he's like, who's influencing who here? Super creepy, weird. I'm like, the fact that you're even here, like, did they tell you you're going to come here and you're just here to try to intimidate me? So that made me even more like, F this, man, I'm freaking out of here, dude. I'm not going to stay here. And so I never came back. So for 4 months, I never said anything. I just left and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this system, creeped out. And then I started kind of talking to other people who actually had been hurt by the church, left, neglected, started hearing some other stories. I'm not going to get too much into it, but things that were really highly concerning. So like, if these things were true, why were they not looked into? Why were they not investigated? Obviously, one of my friends, there was a ministry connected that his brother disappeared, people that died, crazy stuff. Long story short, I finally emailed the pastor, said, hey man, listen, I'm sorry I haven't been here. I'm sorry I left, I just, I don't even remember what all I said. He wanted to meet up. And I just didn't feel comfortable meeting up because I didn't know if he was going to bring someone with him, and like just show up with these other people, because I'd already heard that happen to someone else and like freaking start like cornering me and all that kind of stuff. So I emailed him. I look, man, I just want you to know, this is my story. This is how I got hurt. These are things that I have concerned about. And I have concern about these specific people. I actually didn't say their names. So let's get that straight. In the email, I never said any names, never said a name, not one. I just said, there's specific people who could be involved, this, and this. I don't even want to get into how crazy it is because, I could have been wrong. That's fine. If I was wrong, fine. But I had concerns about things and they were deeply scary concerns. So I emailed the pastor this whole list, things that I had concerns about, and my hurts and the things that happened to me, my concussion, the worship album, flat earth stuff. I mentioned that. I took it out in the other email that got posted, but concerned about all these things that were deeply concerning about safety, really safety, honestly. So I guess he didn't like that. And he didn't really say, hey, I'm so sorry that you've been through this, man. Like, what can we do to, be there for you, man? I'm sorry. Like, nothing. But what he did was he's like just started gaslighting me and calling me victimized, calling what I'm doing demonic and all this other stuff. And he forwards my email without consent, without asking me, forwards my email to the one man who I had major concerns about for safety, and major concerns about him morally, all these things, and being involved in the church. That guy responded in an email and basically threatened me, said he was going to talk to his lawyer for slander. And I'm just thinking, what is going on? Why did my email get forwarded? Why is this guy threatening me? Like, I'm literally just asking questions. I'm just literally saying how I got hurt and my concerns. And you're forwarding my email to this person, which makes me think that this stuff is actually freaking true. And so I'm even more freaked out. This guy's going to come after me. He's going to take all my money. He's going to sue me, or he's going to, yeah, literally, like that's how freaked out I was. So I went straight into PTSD, dude. Straight into PTSD. Couldn't go into churches because I was thinking, is there a witch here? Is there a witch here? Is there a warlock here? Are these guys coming in my house? It just, all these things kind of compounded. Literally, I was like, dude, pretty messed up. I can't believe I'm actually able to talk about this today. Trying to figure it out. I don't ever pick up my guitar anymore. Don't play music anymore. Hard for me to listen to worship music because, especially songs from that place, because it was so painful for a long time. Now I'm like, dude, I don't even know what I think about this stuff anymore. When someone's hurt or confused or ask questions, as a pastor, you don't try to intimidate them or try to silence them, tell them to shut up in an email or stop talking. They told me to stop talking. That was the other thing. Stop talking. That makes me think, well, why do we need to stop talking? Is this stuff true? Are you just trying to protect yourself? Or like, what's going on? Just had major concerns. Went to other churches, just see so much of the same stuff. Just like titles, people love their titles. People love, being important and all that kind of stuff. And so I just kind of was tired of all that and trying to figure out what is the true gospel. What is Christianity? What really is it? I'm not a perfect person. I don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim to be a prophet. I don't claim to be an apostle or any of that kind of stuff, but that's my story. And I think that people need to understand that Upper Room is not healthy. It's not a safe church. They may have really good worship and they may have some like good feels, things like that. But if you dive into the leadership and you actually get plugged in and you start asking questions, that's when the problems start. They want yes people and their leadership surrounded by yes people. There's zero accountability. So like the leader can do whatever he wants because he's the man, that's the apostle, hears from God, says whatever he wants and gets away with it. It's crazy. And when you're in a cult, you don't really know you are until you leave. I'm just thankful I'm gone, and I'm thankful that to be able to share this story. Peace out.